welcome back to my pregnancy journey. I know I skipped a week there. I can't even tell you how much my energy levels have just been so low, but I'll get into that in a little bit. So sorry for skipping, but as you can see from the title, we're doing another combined week. So we're doing weeks 29 and 30 all at once. Woo! And the reason I'm able to do this is because my job, I've mentioned before, I work for a daycare, so a lot of times it's all based on, a lot of times how long I'm there is based on ratio. For instance, if there are too many kids in a room, you need a certain amount of teachers. Today we found out we were only gonna have 4 total, so they were like, bye. And it's nice. The reason that they tell me I'm allowed to go is because I told them I can't be in a lot of the rooms by myself now for multiple reasons. But in the infants, it's particularly because I can't do physically. I've told them I'm not going to be doing at least the bending and picking up of some of the heavier children. We have a couple that are just a little chunky. Nothing wrong with little chunky babies. But considering a lot of it is from the floor up to a diaper changing table, at least once an hour, if not multiple times if you're feeding them or putting them in their crib, I just figure I'll stay on the safe side. I only really work with the babies that are smaller. But that meant I got to go home today because there were only going to be 4 and some of those chunkers were there, which is nice. It's actually been really nice to have some relaxing time. But all right, let's get into the pregnancy vlog stuff. So starting with symptoms and cravings. Let's start with cravings because as usual, nothing insane. I don't know. It's hard. I'm still kind of in that weird, like, every once in a while, and by every once in a while, I mean like around lunchtime, I realize that I super need protein, and I really should probably just go get some protein shakes to have along with breakfast. But half the time my breakfast is grab like a Ziploc bag of cereal and run out the door because of how early my shift starts. So it's fine. By lunchtime, I usually just have to go and grab something with protein, which this kind of leads into my symptoms. I realize that if I don't do that in like a timely manner, I start to feel really sick. And that's kind of been on and off throughout my pregnancy, but you know, that's not fun ever. So cravings, I would say I've just had a really strong urge to have protein, and I should be having it earlier in the day, but I don't always do that. So by lunchtime I'm usually like, gotta have some meat or something. But that's really the only craving. I've generally been keeping with the same foods just to keep it pretty easy, and because I know I won't start feeling sick. But that's about it. So symptoms. Like I said, I've still been getting occasionally sick, and I think a lot of it is centered around food, because it's like around lunchtime, if I haven't had protein or I haven't eaten in a while, because every once in a while my lunch break will be pushed back, I definitely start feeling sick and like feel like I'm gonna throw up, but I'm like, I know I need to eat. Most of the time I don't get sick anymore, but sometimes in the morning, occasionally I'll still get sick. Usually in the morning, if I get sick, I can tell, like, I don't know. I honestly, I haven't been able to pinpoint exactly what it is. I'm pretty sure it's just that I eat dinner like a little too early, because I wake up and I'm usually like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna throw up. And like, if I have that feeling, I usually will, and I can't like push it down. But other than that, I feel like the belly has definitely been growing. I feel pretty confident in my bump. He has been moving a lot. I don't remember if I mentioned this at my appointment or not, but at my 28 or at my 30-week appointment, which, that's 30-week appointment. I can talk about that. At my 30-week appointment, I actually mentioned, I was like, he's a little slow sometimes. But when the nurse practitioner listened to my stomach to listen for the heartbeat, she was like, oh, he's really active. So I'm pretty sure when I'm not feeling him as much, he's just gotten himself in a weird position, which is fine. But like today, since I've been home and I've been hanging out at home, like I can really feel him moving. And so I'm like, okay, this is a pretty active boy. I haven't really been doing, this gets into more stuff. I haven't really been doing kick counts a whole lot unless I notice he isn't moving a ton. If I notice he isn't moving a ton, I'll usually do what my doctor prescribed with the kick counts, take some caffeine or sugar, and try to count 5 kicks in half an hour, 10 kicks in an hour. And that seems to be working pretty well, actually. So, I'm trying to think if there are any other symptoms that I need to mention, but I think I'm pretty much good. I'm definitely lumping week 29 and 30 because Lord knows I can't remember the individual weeks. I mean, still getting backaches. I can tell my ring is getting tighter, but there's also a huge possibility that is summer as well. We haven't had a whole lot of rain here for like the past 2 weeks, so the humidity around here is insane. And I usually feel kind of swelling. I usually swell up anyway, so I don't know if that's specifically pregnancy or if that's summer, but I guess that's something to mention. Otherwise, not too bad. I've started feeling heartburn here occasionally. Oh, I just caught a glimpse of something I had to buy actually because of another symptom. My breasts have started leaking right before week 30. I was having breakfast and was like, my shirt's wet. So that was fun to realize. I had actually already bought nursing bras. Instead of buying maternity bras, I've been purchasing extenders, and I figured a nursing bra would actually be the next best thing for in terms of having more coverage, but also then I wouldn't be spending additional money for nursing bras after buying maternity bras. And in my opinion, really the big difference is just you have bigger bras for maternity that can still be normal, but the nursing bras, I mean, I have one. You can kind of see the strap right there. It's just got one of those things that clicks down to help with nursing. So it doesn't make a big difference. But I already had like pads built into those nursing bras. I had to go buy extra padding because I'm pretty sure it leaked through one day, which has been actually one of my biggest concerns working with infants is I didn't know if when I would start leaking, and now that I have crying babies, I'm pretty sure making this worse. So what are you gonna do? Yeah, it's just fun stuff to deal with. But yeah, that's been kind of like the newest, biggest development is dealing with leaking. Otherwise, just dealing with the normal kind of aches and pains of having an extra however many pounds strapped onto your stomach. So that's always fun. So let's move on to big stuff. All right, so I mentioned I had my 30-week appointment. My 30-week appointment is my first bi-weekly appointment. The way this kind of worked out is a little funny actually, because I've been doing monthly. Week 28 was a monthly appointment, and now week 30 was a bi-weekly appointment. So I came back 2 weeks later, just met with the nurse practitioner, listened to his heartbeat. She just asked me, made sure I was doing okay. The appointment itself is actually pretty bleh. in terms of anything happening. She just listened for his heartbeat and said my stuff all looks good. My blood pressure was a little high when they first took it, but then she took it again just to make sure, and it had dropped already significantly. So I don't know if I was just anxious or like, I don't know. Actually, you know what it probably was? It was probably because I actually sat on the wrong side of the doctor's office and they had to call my name twice, and then I was super embarrassed when I was like, oh shoot, I didn't know I was supposed to be on the other side. Because I just looked like an idiot, but honestly, that's probably why my blood pressure was like, that, and of course you weigh yourself, and I haven't been weighing myself at home, when I go to the doctor, and so there's always a little bit of anxiety, like I hope they're not gonna be like, oh, you've gained so much weight, but no, none of that. So, but they took it, blood pressure's fine, everything looks good. Yeah, literally everything looks good, and that was it. That was the whole appointment. Other than I sat down with the checkout lady and booked all the rest of my appointments for the next 2.5 months. So that was the week 30 appointment. What I find really funny about it is you're supposed to do bi-weekly for, you're supposed to do bi-weekly for a little bit longer, and then like your last month you do weekly. But because of my high risk situation, because of my hypertension, I am going in for what I was calling a bioscan. It's called a biophysical something. Don't remember what the other word is, but shorthand for it is BPP. And the biophysical whatever, that's the one where they sit down and they watch the baby for about 30 minutes to make sure he's moving right, he's growing right, all of that. So because of that, instead of going bi-weekly for a while, I'm sure you just heard my kid, there she is. Hi, honey. Can't film a video without her. Because of my hypertension and everything, they are actually going to be seeing me weekly starting at week 32. So, yeah, bi-weekly isn't really a thing for me. I'm just going, other than week 30, I'm going straight into weekly appointments, which I don't mind. I really don't. And I mean, it's all kind of, whether you're talking about the OB appointments or the BPPs, basically what it means for me is I am just going to the office, the OB office at the hospital, weekly starting at week 32. Week 32 is going to be super fun. Week 32 is my first BPP, my ultrasound, and an OB appointment. So I've got about 2 hours roughly worth of appointments, and I probably should have added an extra 30 or so minutes to requesting my time off, but we'll see how that goes. Just to be on the safe side, I usually give myself some extra time, that way I can grab lunch if I need to for appointments, but we'll see. The only other big thing is that I actually put in my 3 weeks. My weeks have been starting on a Monday. Week 32's Monday is the start of my last week. Kind of had to make this decision based on a couple things. More or less, working in a daycare is really great, but I'm able to leave, which is part of the reason I'm doing it as early as I am. A lot of the physical work is really starting to take a toll on me, and I can tell that the company doesn't have what I would call a backup plan for pregnant women. And what I'm talking about mostly is, so I work in the infant room, which is considerably one of the least physical rooms. In our toddler rooms, the activeness of a teacher, I would say, is extremely high, mostly because in my case, you're picking up anywhere from 10 to 14 kids to pick them up and do diaper changes, and that's going to be something that happens every couple hours, on top of just being a lot of movement, a lot of, you know, comforting, a lot of physical comforting, a lot of hugs, and a lot of getting on their level, which their level is very low. So I would put our toddler rooms at a pretty high activity for teachers, pretty strenuous, which is part of the reason I got out of the toddler room that I was working in when I initially started. So that was part of the reason they got me out of that room, is it's high intensity. Then I was a floater for a couple months. And by a couple, I mean like literally, I think a month or two I was floating. And that was better. It was good for the point in my pregnancy that I was at, because the older rooms, roughly 3 years old to 5, those rooms were definitely not as active. There's still gonna be physical comforting, hugs, and getting down on their level, which isn't as intense, but still, it's still a lot of activity, especially when you're pregnant and up and down and up and down, and can put a lot of stress on different parts of your body when you're already feeling stress in like your back. But there's also one thing I didn't mention with the toddlers, which is still true, is there's a lot of cleaning involved. A lot of wiping tables after every meal, a lot of sweeping, and the sweeping wasn't bad so much as getting on the floor to, you know, dustpan. A lot of picking up, because whether you like it or not, all ages in a daycare really stink at putting away toys, and our center is kind of a stickler for, you know, organization in terms of, and they put toys everywhere. So kids have access to so many different toys, and they put all of them in the wrong place constantly. So you're constantly having to, you know, get down to the shelves level, which is at the kids level, in order to take care of things. And then trash is another big part of a big part of, you know, what we do is just constantly having to take out the trash, which the younger rooms are worse at because it's a lot of diapers, so there's more trash. But with the older rooms, there's more food, and they don't eat all their food, and so it still ends up being, they still end up being really heavy. So floating was fine when I was at the stage of my pregnancy that I was at, but then we had a situation where I was able to go in the infant room. Somebody left unexpectedly. I offered, they put me in there, and I haven't left for about 2 to 3 months. And they tried to kind of put me back in a floating position, which I love floating. If I were to ever go back, I would want to do floating because I love being in so many different rooms. It's so much fun to get to see all the different kids. It's fun not to be, I don't want to say this the wrong way, it's fun not to be fully in charge. But like, it's a different skill. It's because I feel like I'm more of a support than a real teacher. So I enjoy being the support. I enjoy learning all the kids in the center. Like that was I really loved floating. But when they took me out of the infant room to float at a time when I was more pregnant, a lot of the physical demands for cleaning and that kind of, a lot of that like I could really feel it. I want to say I had to call out. I think I talked about this, where I had to call out because of the stress it was mostly putting on my back. I know I'm going like in a really big circle. Hopefully I can cut some of this down. But this is just a really big explanation of why I'm leaving. So the infant room comparatively is actually pretty low in terms of intensity, especially because I'm not picking up trash, I'm not picking up the bigger kids. There are generally 2 of us in the room at all times, and our ratio is really, really low compared to a lot of other rooms. Really, if I'm able to focus on the teeny tiny ones, you know, I can take like half the work of working with the little ones, and the other teacher can really work with the older kids. And you know, sometimes things happen, but generally that's how it's been working, and it's been working really well, except that I can't be left alone with them because of some of the bigger kids. And so and there's certain things that I'm like starting to, I don't want to get on the floor. if I can help it, like I don't clean a whole lot because bending is getting really difficult, and having to like stay hunched over picking up toys constantly is really difficult on my body. Which I know, you know, this is one of those things where it's like, I know that if we ever have a second kid, which is ideally what's gonna happen, like I'm gonna be doing this with my first kid, but at the same time, there's gonna be less, like there's less kids to watch. So I don't know. I'm there. I've been struggling with this a lot. I don't know if you can tell. I've been struggling with leaving a lot because there's a part of me that's like, people do this all the time. You should be fine to keep going. But since I'm able to go, I figured it would be better for the babies. It would be better for the room in general to have all teachers in the room be able to do everything instead of me having to put a lot of the heavier work on my coworkers, who they say they don't mind, but I feel bad personally because I feel like I'm not doing my job. But then there's a situation where a teacher is coming in who was gone, who's going to be able to come back to the infant room. And then I had the what are they going to do with me moment. And honestly, I just don't want to be in the situation where they try to put me back into floating because of how much it hurt me when they did that. It hurt me physically, like hurt my back and everything. So, I know this is so long, but I've decided to leave. I'm leaving at a time where things are shifting anyway because the school age kids are about to go to school, and it'll be fine. I'm not worried about leaving the kids or the daycare in any like stress because I'm leaving. But I definitely have guilty feelings about leaving and leaving so early. But with no talk of maternity leave support and no evidence that they really could do anything with me other than stick me in a floating position, and then I just end up sitting in the room because I can't do things and I have to ask the other teachers to do it when I'm supposed to be the support and supposed to be helping. I realize that this is not gonna work. So I'm leaving. I'm gonna be roughly 2 months ahead of my due date when I leave, but I really do feel like it's for the best. Since there isn't like desk work or things that I can do, at least they never indicated that would even be an option. But since that's not available, I think this is going to be the best thing for me. I think it's going to be the best thing for the kids in the daycare. And honestly, I think it's going to be good for me to be able to come to terms with having my own child, having my own kid, putting myself in the space of you are going to be delivering a baby, and like really taking the time to get my head in the right place before all this happens. So like I said, that was a huge tangent, but since I'm leaving my job and I feel as guilty as I do, I wanted to give the explanation of why, so future me can look back and go, no, you did a good thing. At least I hope that's what future me will say. It also means I get to do stuff like organize the entire house before baby comes, because Lord knows my nesting instincts have just been dying to get things cleaned, but I never have energy because I'm so tired from work. And it's gonna be good. Gonna organize everything and clean everything and hopefully get projects done, a couple projects before Graham comes. So this is gonna be a long one. I was originally gonna put some extra footage that I filmed at the end of this vlog, but I think this has gone on long enough, so maybe I'll just make that an extras vlog for when, I don't know, things get busy. But thank you guys so much for listening or watching or skipping to the end of this crazy vlog. Thank you so much for tuning in to my pregnancy journey. Sorry again for skipping a week. Life is hectic. Nothing else I can say. But Congratulations to anybody who has found out that they are pregnant. Good luck to all of you who are trying. And if you've had your baby, congratulations. It's so exciting. I'm so excited. Always, as always, so excited. But thank you guys so much. I will talk to you next week for week 31. Bye.